Let us pray. O Lord, grant us a daily awareness of the precious gift of life which you have given us. As members of this legislative assembly, we dedicate our lives anew to the service of our province and our country. Amen.
Introduction of visitors. Presenting petitions.
Thank you. Member for Calgary Foothills.
Mr. Speaker, as chairman of the Private Bills Committee, I beg leave to present a petition for a private bill, being a petition from the Victory Bible College for the Victory Bible College Act.
Reading and receiving petitions. Presenting reports by standing and special committees.
Calgary Foothills.
Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 93, I wish to report that the petitions for private bills which have been received by the Assembly have been taken under consideration by me as chairman of the Private Bills Committee, and all the petitions received complied with Standing Order 86. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 91-2, the Private Bills Committee has had under consideration the acceptance of a late petition presented earlier today by me, being the petition for the Victory Bible College for the Victory Bible College Act. The petition has otherwise complied with the advertising requirements under Standing Order 86. The committee recommends to the Assembly that this petition be allowed to proceed despite the late filing under Standing Order 91-2, and the Assembly also do now deem this petition to have been read and received. I request the concurrence of the Assembly in this recommendation and report.
All those in favor of granting concurrence in the report, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Notices of motions. Introduction of bills.
Member for Rocky Mountain House.
On behalf of the member from Cypress Redcliffe, I request leave to introduce a bill being the Water Resources Commission Amendment Act 1992. When passed, this bill will name Assistant Deputy Ministers, departmental representatives to the Commission by department name as opposed to specific position title of the individuals. And it will add a representative from the Department of Transportation and Utilities and extend the mandate of the Commission for a further 5 years to December 31, 1997.
The honourable member for Rocky Mountain House has moved on behalf of the member for Cypress Redcliffe first reading of Bill 26, Water Resources Commission Amendment Act 1992. Those in favor of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Number 26, Water Resources Commission Amendment Act 1992, introduced by the Honourable Member Mr. Lund, is now read a first time.
House Leader.
I move that Bill number 26, the Water Resources Commission Amendment Act 1992, be placed in the order paper under Government Bills and Orders.
Thank you. Having heard the motion, those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried. With respect to PR bills, could we go in the numerical order, please? Thank you very much. Member for Wainwright.
Request leave to introduce bill number, private bill number 1, being the Cynthia Lynn Rankin Adoption Act. This bill is necessary because the Child Welfare Act does not provide for the adoption of persons over the age of 18.
The honourable member for Wainwright has moved first reading of Bill PR1, Cynthia Lynn Rankin Adoption Act. Those in favor of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number PR1, Cynthia Lynn Rankin Adoption Act, introduced by the Honourable Member Mr. Fisher, is now read a first time.
Member for Calgary Bow.
Mr. Speaker, I request permission to introduce a bill, PR2, being the first Canadian Casualty Insurance Corporation Act.
The honourable member for Calgary-Bow has moved first reading of Bill 2, First Canadian Casualty Insurance Corporation Act. Those members willing to give assent to first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. So ordered.
Bill number PR2, First Canadian Casualty Insurance Corporation Act, introduced by the honourable member Mrs. B. Lang, is now read a first time.
Grand Prairie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I request leave to introduce Bill PR number 3, being Carmelite Nuns of Western Canada Act.
The honourable member for Grand Prairie has moved first reading of Bill PR3. Those in favour of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number PR3, Carmelite Nuns of Western Canada Act, introduced by the honourable member Dr. Elliott, is now read a first time.
Member for Clover Bar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I seek leave to introduce Bill PR4, the Caritas Health Group Act. This bill formalizes a partnership between the Misericordia Hospital and the General Hospital Grey Nuns of Edmonton. This partnership creates the opportunity for optimizing programs and resources, and at the same time building a broader base for patient care, teaching, and research activity. Both the Misericordia Hospital and the General Hospital Grey Nuns of Edmonton have a long history of providing quality health care to citizens of Edmonton and Northern Alberta. This bill assists in providing improved patient care by joining these corporations under Caritas. Caritas is a term which symbolizes charity and care.
The honourable member for Clover Bar has moved first reading of Bill PR4, Caritas Health Group Act. Those in favour of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. So ordered.
Bill number PR4, Caritas Health Group Act, introduced by the honourable member Mr. Gazelle, is now read a first time.
Member for Cardston.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request leave to introduce Bill PR5, being the Lee Justin Little Child Adoption Act.
The honourable member for Cardston has moved first reading of Bill PR5. Those in favour of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number PR5, Lee Justin Little Child Adoption Act, introduced by the honourable member Mr. Adie, is now read a first time.
Calgary-Bow.
Mr. Speaker, I request leave to introduce a bill, PR6, being the Rocky Mountain College Act. Thank you.
The honourable member for Calgary-Bow has moved first reading of Bill PR6. Those in favour of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number PR6, Rocky Mountain College Act, introduced by the honourable member Mrs. B. Lang, is now read a first time.
Mr. Speaker, I request leave to introduce Bill PR7 on behalf of my colleague from Bow Valley, the Medicine Hat Community Foundation Act.
The honourable member for Calgary Foothills, on behalf of the member for Bow Valley, has moved first reading of Bill PR7, Medicine Hat Community Foundation Act. Those in favour of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number PR7, Medicine Hat Community Foundation Act, introduced by the honourable member Mrs. Black, is now read a first time.
Calgary Glenmore.
Mr. Speaker, I request leave to introduce Bill PR number 8, the Calgary Municipal Heritage Properties Authority Amendment Act 1992.
The honourable member for Calgary Glenmore has moved first reading of Bill PR8. Those in favour of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. So ordered.
Bill number PR8, Calgary Municipal Heritage Properties Authority Amendment Act 1992, introduced by the honourable member Mrs. Myrosh, is now read a first time.
Smoky River.
Mr. Speaker, I request leave to introduce Bill PR9, United Farmers of Alberta Cooperative Limited Amendment Act. This act amends the United Farmers of Alberta Cooperative Limited Act of 1966.
The honourable member for Smoky River has moved first reading of Bill PR 9, United Farmers of Alberta Cooperative Limited Amendment Act 1992. Those in favor of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number PR 9, United Farmers of Alberta Cooperative Limited Amendment Act 1992, introduced by the honourable member, Mr. Peskowski, is now read a first time.
Calgary Foothills.
Speaker, I request leave to introduce a bill being the St. Mary's Hospital Trochu Amendment Act 1992.
The honourable member for Calgary Foothills has moved first reading of Bill PR 10. Those in favor of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number PR 10, St. Mary's Hospital Trochu Amendment Act 1992, introduced by the honourable member, Mrs. Black, is now read a first time.
Calgary McKnight.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request leave to introduce a bill being Bill PR 11, the Frederick James Harris Adoption Act. Thank you.
The honourable member for Calgary McKnight has moved first reading of Bill PR 11. Those in favor of first reading, please say aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number PR 11, Frederick James Harris Adoption Act, introduced by the honourable member, Mrs. Gagnon, is now read a first time.
Calgary Glenmore.
Mr. Speaker, I request leave to introduce Bill number PR 12, the Calgary Foundation Amendment Act 1992. Thank you.
The honourable member for Calgary Glenmore has moved first reading to Bill PR 12. Those in favor of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. So ordered.
Bill number PR 12, Calgary Foundation Amendment Act 1992, introduced by the honourable member, Mrs. Myrosh, is now read a first time.
Edmonton Millwoods.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request leave today to introduce Bill PR 13, being the Den Tobias Dean Adoption Act.
Member for Edmonton Millwoods has moved first reading of Bill 13. Those in favor of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number PR 13, Den Tobias Dean Adoption Act, introduced by the honourable member, Mr. Gibault, is now read a first time.
Member for Stony Plain. No. Edmonton Jasper Place.
Last but not least, I would like to request leave to introduce a bill being PR 15, the Victory Bible College Act.
The honourable member for Edmonton Jasper Place has moved first reading of Bill PR 15. Those in favour of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried. 15.
Bill number PR 15, Victory Bible College Act, introduced by the honourable member, Mr. McInnes, is now read a first time.
Member for Edmonton Avonmore.
Sir, I would beg leave to introduce on behalf of the member for Stony Plain PR 14, the Carolyn Deborah Peacock Adoption Act.
Thank you. The honourable member for Edmonton Avonmore has moved first reading of Bill PR 14. Those in favour of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number PR 14, Carolyn Deborah Peacock Adoption Act, introduced by the honourable member, Ms. M. Lang, is now read a first time. Tabling returns and reports.
Minister of Health, followed by the Minister of Education.
Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to table the annual report of the Mental Health Patient Advocate for the year January 1 to December 31, 1991.
Minister of Education.
Speaker, I'd like to table or file with the Assembly today the report of the Ministers' Committee on Human Sexuality Education. And in filing the report, Mr. Speaker, may I take this opportunity to thank 11 Albertans who took a lot of time to pull together this report under the very able leadership of the chairman of the committee, the MLA for Lloydminster, Mr. Doug Cherry.
Hear, hear. Hear, hear. Hear, hear.
Additional, West Yellowhead.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to table with the Assembly several letters from the Minister of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife and his Deputy Minister in regards to the tendering of a timber quota in the Piers area and their flip-flops.
Okay.
Introduction of special guests.
Transportation and Utilities, followed by the Minister of Ag.
Mr. Speaker, it's a pleasure for me today to introduce a gentleman that was introduced a couple of weeks ago, but this time he is accompanied by his wife, Rose. I would ask Mr. John Batouk to rise and receive the warm welcome of this Assembly. But before I do that, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to mention that he's the gentleman that asked the Solicitor General one time why he got a ticket for parking under a sign that said "Fine for parking." John and Rose, would you stand?
Minister of Agriculture.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure to introduce to you and through you to the members of the Assembly approximately 40 grade 10 students from the Assumption Junior Senior High School located in the town of Grand Center, located in beautiful northeastern Alberta. They're accompanied today by their teacher, Seb Stein, three parents, Kathy Rollick, Don Nuttall, and Terry Zer. They're seated in the members' gallery. I'd ask that they stand and receive the welcome of the Assembly.
Edmonton Kingsway, followed by the Minister of Advanced Education.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thought you had identified a minister across the way. It's my pleasure today, Mr. Speaker, to introduce to you and to members of the Assembly 17 students from the Alberta Vocational Centre in my riding. They are from all over the world and are taking English as a second language. They're accompanied by their teacher, Karen Barnes. I request that they stand and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Minister of Advanced Education.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Municipal Affairs, the MLA for St. Albert, who's away on some very crucial constitutional business, I'd like to welcome 25 students from Wild Rose Elementary School in St. Albert. Mr. Speaker, they're accompanied by teachers Mr. Dave Jamieson and Juliet Rush. They're seated in the public gallery, Mr. Speaker, and I would ask them to rise and have members of this House welcome them.
Minister of Education, followed by Rocky Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, I had the pleasure over the noon hour to spend an hour and a half with a number of student leaders from Edmonton and area high schools. They have joined us this afternoon, several of them, to watch a question period. We had an interesting discussion on a number of matters, including the curriculum, including Math 30, teachers, teacher evaluations, and a number of very interesting topics that I found useful in my duties. They're seated in the members' gallery, Mr. Speaker, and I'd ask them to rise and receive the warm welcome from members of the Assembly.
Rocky Mountain House.
This week in Edmonton, the Alberta Speech and Debate Association is hosting the 26th National Debate Seminar, bringing together some 64 young people from 10 provinces and the Northwest Territories. They are here all week to participate in debate and speech and model parliament. They are joined by their co-chairman, Mr. Rolf Pritchard, who serves as the chairman or the president of the Alberta Speech and Debate Association. A number of them are visiting the Assembly today and later this afternoon, and for those who are here today, Mr. Speaker, I'd ask them to rise and receive the warm welcome of members of the Assembly.
Rocky Mountain House for sure.
It gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce to you and to members of this Assembly some 18 bright young students from the Sylvan Meadows Adventist School. They are accompanied by their teacher, Mr. David Bell, parent Beth Reinschel, and helper Ruth Eaton. I believe they're seated in the public gallery, and I would now ask them to rise and receive the cordial, warm welcome of the Assembly.
Edmonton Jasper Place.
I would like to introduce a special guest who's not a stranger to our galleries, but whose presence is always welcome. He is the chaplain of the Edmonton Trappers Professional Baseball Club, in addition to being the representative of the Christian Embassy and ministers to many of us in this assembly. And I'd like Jerry Sherman to stand up and receive the recognition of the assembly.
Is there anybody's on? Ministerial statements.
Mr. Speaker, almost everywhere we look these days we see people in conflict, tank battles in Yugoslavia, looting, arson, and murder in the streets of Los Angeles, riots in Toronto. The issues are as varied as they are complex, but perhaps Rodney King, the man beaten by 4 Los Angeles police officers acquitted last week, spoke to the nub of the problem when he pleaded with a frightened nation. All I am saying is, can't we all get along? How do we get along given the racial, ethnic, cultural, religious, and philosophical differences in our society? America thought it had the answer with its melting pot, but last week the pot boiled over. Canada thought that we had the answer with our mosaic, but that too is crumbling at the edge. Perhaps the answer begins in a document introduced into this legislature 20 years ago, today, the Individuals' Rights Protection Act. The IRPA says we are a society that believes in equal opportunity, fair treatment, and respect for all individuals. The IRPA tells us it is possible to be equal and different at the same time. But the IRPA alone is not enough. We need more than a law, however eloquent, or a commission, however active, before we truly get along. The experiences in the U.S. tell us that much. Every one of us must make a personal commitment to the values of equality, fairness, and respect. We must realize there is no magic formula or poetic image that will resolve conflict forever and in all places. We will get along when we stop trying to impose simple, right answers, because there are none, and begin instead the relentless daily effort to behave in a way that accords with the values in our IRPA, values that spring not from any legislator's pen, but from the very heart of all that is good about humanity. Mr. Speaker, on this, the 20th anniversary of the IRPA, I invite all members of the Assembly to join with me in rededicating ourselves to making fairness, equality, and respect for all individuals the unshakable bedrock of human values on which we agree to base all our decisions and actions. If we do so, I know we will find the way and the wisdom, as Mr. King begged his country last week, to work it out and to get along. Thank you.
Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, certainly I agree with the Minister. It's some very difficult, fragile times, and we see it immediately with very brutal images on television. And I think in Canada we've often thought, Mr. Speaker, that somehow we were immune to that, but I certainly see in Toronto recently we're not. And I would say that we in Alberta cannot be smug about that either, because we do have our own problems, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, I certainly agree with the Minister when she says that values that spring not from any legislator's pen, but from the very heart of all that is good about humanity. Well, I agree with that, Mr. Speaker. I think there is some onus on us in terms of the legislature, in terms of legislators, to look at this problem, Mr. Speaker. As mentioned the other day, immigration is going to increase into this country. It's going to increase into this province, Mr. Speaker. And that has big implications for how we handle it in this provincial legislature, Mr. Speaker. And we've advocated from time to time, and I wish the government would take a look at emphasis in education beyond math and science and tolerance and understanding. We need more money for English as a second language. We need to look at employment equity. We need to look at all these things, Mr. Speaker. But above all, as we celebrate the legislature 20 years ago bringing in the Individuals' Rights Protection Act, we do need some changes, and a major amendment, as the Minister knows, that we've been pushing for is for the Human Rights Commission to be able to initiate inquiries on their own rather than waiting for individuals, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I certainly do join with the Minister in rededicating ourselves to making fairness, equality, and respect for all individuals the unshakable bedrock of human values on which we agree to base all our decisions and actions. We certainly do want to promote tolerance, but we also in the legislature do have to look at these issues and see if the legislator's pen can make it easier, Mr. Speaker.
Oral question period.
Leader of the Opposition.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, yesterday Canada's Ministers of Agriculture met in Alberta to talk about the future of Western Canada's grain transportation subsidy. Mr. Speaker, they released a report on a series of producer meetings held last winter to discuss the issue. Now, Mr. Speaker, Alberta's Minister of Agriculture would have us believe that all Alberta farmers support the government's position that farmers want to pay much higher freight rates, Mr. Speaker. But anybody that travels around rural Alberta, as I have, Mr. Speaker, realizes that producers are very split on this issue, Mr. Speaker. My question to the Minister is simply this. How can the Minister of Agriculture be so adamant in his pay the producers approach when there is no consensus on this among producers in the province?
Mr. Speaker, first of all, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition is incorrect when he suggests that the Alberta government wants the farmers to pay a higher cost of transportation. The whole concept of changing what we're currently doing is to bring down the cost of transportation to the producer. The Honourable Member should review the final report of the third-party facilitators that conducted the 138 transportation talk meetings across the country, which definitely comes to the conclusion that in Alberta there is strong support outside of the Peace River region for pay the producer. That's not my assessment, that's the assessment of the third-party facilitators. It also reported in the final report that in Saskatchewan there was strong support to retain the status quo, with some shifting of opinions once you got into southern Saskatchewan, but not significant. And it showed that Manitoba is split just about down the middle between pay the producer or pay the railway. It also showed quite plainly on behalf of those that support pay the producer that the preferred method of paying is a bond.
I would question that if you talk to a lot of farmers in the minister's own area, they would say that those meetings did not reflect what the producers were saying in his own area, northeastern Alberta, Mr. Speaker. But beyond that, he says he's trying to lower transportation costs. How could, handing out money to the producers around the railways lower? It's impossible. It's not going to lower it. He knows that, Mr. Speaker. And let me ask the minister simply this. If the pay the producer concept becomes the rule, freight rates will escalate. Make no mistake about that. Almost everybody says that except the minister, Mr. Speaker. And this is going to be true, especially the further away you are from the terminals. My question to the minister is simply this. How does the minister justify this approach to the farmers in the Peace River, for example?
Right on. Mr. Speaker, I'm very pleased that the Leader of the Official Opposition is finally recognizing agriculture to the point that it's his opening questions. First time. I would, though, certainly suggest to them that maybe he should do a little homework before he starts discussing some of the issues. His preamble obviously indicates that he doesn't really understand the grain collection and transportation system in Western Canada. Not a clue. The way you bring down costs is to bring in efficiencies, to eliminate branch lines that are built and were built to serve our grandfathers in the days of hauling grain with horses. You have grain companies that create high throughput elevators that can load up to 100-unit cars during a day. So the railway simply comes along, hooks onto those cars, out to the coast and back, and you'll see a significant reduction in turnaround time, and as a result of that, less cars to haul the same amount of grain. I think it would do the honorable leader very good to review the work that was done by the Alberta government, the BC government, and the Alberta Wheat Pool that was started in the days of my predecessor, where outside consultants were brought in, did the studies, the numbers were accepted by two levels of government and by the Alberta Wheat Pool, and they all led to cost savings in transportation. They led to removing the distortion caused in the prairies by the current system, which in turn led to more...
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Thank you. I'm sure we've got some left for the last supplementary.
Speaker, I thought I was asking a question of Minister of Agriculture, not the Minister of the CPR, Mr. Speaker. and for him to say the wheat pools right across across this province and across Western Canada are against his approach, Mr. Speaker, and he knows full well. Right. So let's not distort the issue. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to come back to the question, because we talked about the Peace River, which is probably the furthest away from the major terminals. Is this minister standing in his place in this assembly and saying that freight rates are going to go down for the farmers in the Peace River? Is he really trying to tell them that, Mr. Speaker?
Let's hear it. Mr. Speaker, those that try to perpetuate a myth that the Peace River is a drain on the transportation system in Western Canada are out to lunch. The Peace River has a direct run to the Prince Rupert Terminal. The Peace River has a much less elaborate system of branch lines than much of the southern prairies do. I would say if you did a real cost analysis, it is not the rest of the prairies supporting the cost of transportation and the Peace. It's the Peace supporting the cost of transportation part of the rest of the prairies.
Second main question, Leader of the Opposition. Second main question. Second main.
I'd like to designate to the member from Edmonton Avonmore.
Or.
Speaker, my questions are to the Solicitor General. Mr. Speaker, the Chair of the Council on Occupations and Professions last week revealed that amendments and regulations to the Health Disciplines Act, which would allow midwives to practice, will take at least 2 years to be put into effect. That is too long, Mr. Speaker. It means the formal integration of midwifery into our healthcare system will be delayed once again. Not that I am surprised, Mr. Speaker. We've been heard promises regarding midwifery before, only to wait and wait and wait. My question to the Minister, how does the Minister justify a delay of 2 years before midwives will be able to practice in Alberta?
Mr. Speaker, the process on midwifery legislation is this. First, you designate midwifery, which we've had consultation with all of those that are lobbying for midwifery, and we have agreed with them. And I think the chairman had agreed last week. I agree. I believe in midwifery, and I've agreed. Second, we have consulted with those in the Midwifery Association, and they have agreed with us that they want the 2-year time to put forth a committee to look at the regulations and to work with the other groups. So all I can say is that we have agreed to designation, so has the Midwife Association, and they have agreed that it will take upwards of 2 years to properly look at the regulations.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the task force and members of the task force believe it's a maximum of 1 year to 1.5 years. And Mr. Speaker, last week, the Solicitor General ordered the ALCB immediately to implement recommendations on strippers on Alberta, but when it comes to midwifery, we hear it will take at least 2 years. Will the Minister now commit to implementing the recommendations without delay and interference?
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's very difficult to communicate, at least to the rest of Albertans, when we can't even communicate among ourselves in this assembly. There is a report there that all of the impacted groups had input to, and it was tabled in this assembly, and in there we are following their recommendations. First, we designate midwifery. That was their first designation. In that report, on page 29, if the member would look at that, she will find out that this process that has been outlined was accepted by all groups, including those that want midwifery, the Midwifery Association.
Mr. Speaker, the concern is not the process. The concern is the time that it will take. Will the minister now commit to establishing within 2 months a regulatory body to be designated in a fair and open manner with broad representation with stakeholder groups and the public immediately that he has brought forward the legislation?
Mr. Speaker, we will follow in due course with the process that's needed to see midwifery in this province, but perhaps the Minister of Health would like to supplement this.
Sure, perhaps I can speak to one of the reasons for the delay subsequent to the designation. One of the issues with respect to midwifery is how will the midwives be paid in Alberta? And one of the issues in that is not to simply create an add-on to perhaps the Alberta Healthcare Insurance Plan, particularly when arguments are made that midwifery will allow a certain level of pregnancy to be done by a midwife as opposed to a physician. So part of the cause of the delay is to get the players together to look at what pregnancies do appropriately go to midwifery, how they can be paid for, instead of creating yet another add-on to our healthcare system. I think taking the time to ensure that we fund it in the appropriate way is a major issue in health. And if it can be done in a shorter time than the 2 years suggested by the minister, fair enough, that would be good. But the issue is to get the process in place, and in this way I disagree with the honourable member, to ensure that we've got an appropriate method to pay the service.
Agreed. Member for Edmonton Glengarry, on behalf of the Liberal Party.
My questions are to the Minister of Education, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, a month-long strike in central Alberta is keeping 16,000 students away from their classes. The evidence is clear that there is a total and complete impasse between the parties involved in the negotiation process. My first question is, what action is the Minister taking to resolve this strike?
Sure.
With respect, Mr. Speaker, that is a labor issue, and properly I should be answering it. Although, of course, we all recognize that the Minister of Education and I are working very closely together to address both the education and the labor issues in this matter. We have, I take it you are referring to the Battle River School Authorities Association. There are 10 boards involved. 2 boards have made settlement with their own teachers. The other 8 boards are continuing, at least they were continuing until 11 o'clock last night, to hold discussions with the teacher bargaining units. And our mediators were there all of that time. Our mediators are again attempting to bring them back to the table. We are very much aware that the future of the education of the young people involved is what is truly at stake here. The Minister of Education and I are both urging both parties to get to the table and take the responsibility of settling this matter just as soon as possible.
Mr. Speaker, I spoke to representatives from both sides today, and it is true that there is a complete impasse, and I think I'm correct in saying and representing the position of both sides, that both sides want some sort of intervention. Will the minister agree? Will the minister agree to calling or visiting the parties and getting this logjam cleared?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm sure that many of our MLAs have also been speaking to their constituents, who are the taxpayers who are going to have to pay for this service. And I believe those taxpayers, the parents, are in fact talking to their elected representatives, that is to say, the school boards. The school boards and the unions have a responsibility to come to a decision. They are local governments, and they should be taking this responsibility and not trying to evade it. And I would imagine that they will be taking instructions from their ratepayers and parents in the areas, as indeed two boards have done. Now, I continue to say that our mediators have been involved and have tried to bring the two parties to a resolution. However, my belief in collective bargaining is such that we shouldn't just impose a solution. Certainly that has been done and is done frequently in a dictatorial manner, but I, for one, have great faith in the wisdom of the parties on both sides of this dispute, and I have great faith in their dedication to the future of the young people who are innocent bystanders in this struggle.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not suggesting for a moment that a solution be imposed. One side, and I think I'm correct in saying the other, believes that the mediation process has not worked. I'm asking the minister or ministers to get involved, call the people together, go out and visit them, get the logjam cleared and solve the problem. It's the students that are getting hurt in this process, and that's the number one concern.
And I've been saying that, and the Minister of Education has been saying that for many weeks now, and so have the MLAs who are involved in these areas. I wish the boards and the school teachers and their negotiators would say it out loud more often. Certainly the parents are saying that the number one concern here is the education of the young people involved. However, you can invite people to the table, and the mediator has invited the people to the table time and time and time again. But those people have the responsibility to find that common ground whereupon they can agree. It is something that they have within their power to do, and again, we strongly urge them to come to that conclusion.
Followed by Edmonton Calder.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The federal and provincial ministers of agriculture met in Leduc yesterday, and I understand the transportation, and more specifically, the Western Grain Transportation Act was on the agenda. Mr. Speaker, the vast majority of my constituents are looking forward to changes in the Western Grain Transportation Act to make a more cost-efficient system. My question is to the Minister of Agriculture. Was the option of the freedom to choose or the bond payout discussed? If so, how did the other ministers react to it?
Mr. Speaker, we did spend considerable time yesterday discussing the transportation issue, and agreement was reached by all provinces, with the exception of Saskatchewan, to reduce the number of options that were out there under transportation talks by removing the phase-out with no compensation option, and by removing the ongoing pay the producer option, which basically then left three options on this table: the status quo, paying out through a bond or an annuity, or the safety net approach. Further, the ministers did agree that individual provincial and or producer choices be examined in the context of the above three options. So the simple answer to the question of a possible provincial-only way is in the decision document, and maybe the more imaginative way of letting the farmer make his or her own choice is also being assessed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The individual producer choice is a new concept. It seems to me that it could be a bureaucracy nightmare to administrate this. My question, does the minister think this is administratively feasible?
We have staff that will be assessing that between now and the July meeting in Halifax, as has the province of Manitoba. It seems to me, though, that if it is administratively feasible, there couldn't be anything more democratic than to saying to each farmer out there, look, you have the option. You can leave your share of the Crow benefit with the railway and continue to ship grain the way you always have been, or you can bond it out and start facing the true costs. Then we would all know what farmers wanted because they'd make the individual choices. And I find the idea which was submitted by Manitoba to be rather interesting and something that we're certainly going to work on.
Calder.
Mr. Speaker, the federal government recently abandoned their promise for a national child care program and yesterday announced some initiatives to alleviate the effects of poverty on children. Much of the money will be directed to providing information to parents when what families who are poor really need are opportunities for education, training, higher incomes, and jobs. What is startling, Mr. Speaker, that as a result of the ceiling on federal transfer payments, Alberta will lose $850 million this year alone, the very money that would give opportunities to these low-income families. To the Minister of Family and Social Services, given that this federal transfer money is crucial in assisting low-income families, what is this minister prepared to do to stand up for Alberta and get the federal government to lift the ceiling in order that Albertans get the money that we deserve? Here,
Mr. Speaker, the member knows full well that this government took it to the highest court of the lands, and they've made a decision that the federal government is within their jurisdictional rights to put the cap in place that they have. Obviously, we're not very happy about it. We're continuing to express our dissatisfaction with our federal counterparts at every opportunity that we have. We're working, I might add, in cooperation with the governments of British Columbia and the governments of Ontario in expressing our concerns. I can say to the member, Mr. Speaker, that I'll be attending once again a ministerial conference next week along with our federal counterpart, and once again I will raise the concern that the member has drawn to my attention in this Assembly with my federal counterparts. We are doing all that we can, Mr. Speaker.
Well, obviously it's not good enough, Mr. Speaker, because the federal government has not changed their mind on this. And the announcement in total gives us money in the total cost of the program in total is less money than the federal government is taking from the province of Alberta in 1 year. And a large amount of this money will provide written information to parents, but what is needed is direct services to children. Given that advocacy groups have already expressed concern that the money will just go to creating more bureaucracy, I would ask the minister, will he guarantee that any funds which are accessed by Alberta through this program will end up in direct assistance to children who are poor?
Well, Mr. Speaker, again, the member, first of all, is asking a request of me that isn't possible for me to guarantee. This is a federal program. This isn't a provincial program that we're talking about. This is a federal initiative. At this point, the federal government have indicated that they're going to be spending some $500 million over the next 5 years, that those dollars are going to be focused or targeted towards prevention and promotion and protection and community action for children. Mr. Speaker, I'll be, again, as I told the member earlier, I will be meeting with my federal counterpart. I will take that opportunity to sit down and discuss these very initiatives. I will take that opportunity to work with my federal counterpart to encourage him to make sure that these dollars are spent in a focused and efficient way. I might note that the early information that I have received, they seem to be indicating that they're going to be placing a high emphasis on partnership with community agencies, and I welcome that, Mr. Speaker. But yes, I'll work with my counterpart to make sure these dollars are spent as well.
Thank you. Westlock Sturgeon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. While the Energy Minister is off on his own royalty holiday in the Middle East with a 16-member entourage, Petro-Canada has announced today that it will be laying off additional 1,200 workers in its Calgary office. It's obvious by now, Mr. Speaker, that a state of emergency exists within the energy industry. To the provincial treasurer, so you don't have to look over. Between January 89 and the end of April 92, there has been a workforce reduction of over 12,000 in the energy industry. 12,000. The minister made job creation a plank in his recent budget. Now, what concrete plans does the minister have to stop the tide of the horrific job losses in the energy industry?
Mr. Speaker, it is true that there has been job layoffs in a variety of energy industries, not just in Alberta, but across Canada. And I know that the member has some knowledge and understanding of the dynamics of the energy industry personally. I would expect that we have to make these kinds of adjustments as the private sector goes through the economic changes. We have said in our own budget, and others have raised the same question, that perhaps the worst is behind us in terms of the energy sector in Calgary. I must say that I think there are some observations that may be worthy of a debate at some point about the numbers of people who in fact have been directly impacted in the energy sector in Calgary and what sort of responses government should do as a result. And to that end, I would ask for the consideration of my colleague, the Minister of Career Development and Employment, perhaps to supplement my answer.
Perhaps. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would have been interested because actually this government is bankrupt when it comes to ideas and getting the energy rolling. The government's 2-year royalty holiday, for instance, new oil wells, saw drilling activity fall from 57% of the rigs used down to only 33% in the last year and a half. This government is paralyzed by indecision. Will the minister commit, this is something that's not that difficult to do, the approach to Premier to immediately establish a joint industry government task force to deal with this issue in order to get the oil industry back on track again?
Well, Mr. Speaker, if the member wants to introduce rhetoric into this very serious matter, then I'd be glad to exchange those kinds of words with him. But I think this is much more important than simple rhetoric, and the member from West Loch Sturgeon should not be content, or for that matter smug, simply saying that the government is not concerned about this issue. Nothing could be further from the truth. We consider this to be a very important matter. We know that the energy industry in Alberta is a key driver of both investment in jobs and economic growth for our province. It commands a significant export profile for us, both in terms of oil and natural gas, both into the Canadian and national markets. And as a adder of value in terms of the petrochemical industry is significant. So we see this as an important building block. We have expressed a tremendous amount of concern about the adjustments or restructuring which the industry is now going through. The Minister of Energy has said already that he's looking at the royalty question. That is an ongoing review. The member from West Loch Sturgeon confirms the outlook that the energy industry has, that is, that it is a viable, competitive, international competitive industry and is exporting its expertise around the world because of the experience garnered here in Alberta, and we should not belittle that. And still further, Mr. Speaker, because of the impact on the energy sector here in Alberta of the job opportunities, this government, through a variety of programs and a variety of ministerial responsibility, is on an ongoing basis assessing any reaction that may be called upon to react.
Slave Lake, followed by Edmonton Millwood. No, thank you, Honourable Member. Sorry.
My question is to the Minister of Advanced Education. Students from small and remote communities in the north must leave their homes to get teacher education training. This limits the number of people with knowledge and expertise in these communities and creates teacher shortages in the north. It is my understanding that there has been 2 innovative programs or proposals respectively submitted by the 4 universities and Northland School Division regarding teacher education programs to address these issues. Would the Minister update Northerners on the negotiations between the universities, Northland School Division and the Department of Advanced Education?
Mr. Speaker, certainly the uniqueness of education in rural communities is of particular importance to this government because it's one of the high priorities, and the Minister of Education is well aware of school districts such as Northland and High Prairie School Divisions having such a high component of Native people with their unique cultures. Mr. Speaker, these discussions have gone on for some time between the universities, the only people legally qualified to certify teachers. And recently we have Grand Prairie Regional College working with the U of A with regard to having a completion program in Bachelor of Education. I can't add much by way of additional information, Mr. Speaker, although the Minister of Education may wish to. We continue to work on it, looking for a solution to solve a recommendation that's been made continually by the chairman of the Northern Alberta Development Council.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the Minister stated, this has been ongoing for quite a length of time now with little or no resolution to date. Would the Minister ensure that these negotiations will address specifically the Teacher Education North and the Northland School proposals so that we can get on with the work, which is educating Northerners to become qualified teachers without having to leave their home?
Mr. Speaker, I'll certainly take the honourable member from Lesser Slave Lake's representation extremely seriously, and we'll do everything that certainly is within the power of the Minister of Advanced Education to see that that can reach a successful conclusion whereby those remote communities have teachers, particularly those with native expertise.
Edmonton Millwoods, followed by Edmonton Gold Bar.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Speaker, my questions are to the Solicitor General this afternoon. We will recall that on March the 24th, the chair of the Professions and Occupations Bureau said in this assembly that the report on foreign qualifications would be tabled the first part of next month, referring to April. Well, Mr. Speaker, it is now May, and we still have no sign of this report on foreign qualifications. To the Solicitor General, given that Albertans have been waiting for 3 years for this report, can he give us some reason why there's these ongoing and continuing delays in releasing this report? When is it going to come out?
Mr. Speaker, the report on this is being worked on as an internal document at the present time, and when we have reviewed it to its fullest extent, we will be bringing forth information to this Assembly.
Mr. Speaker, is the Solicitor General admitting that the chair of the Professions and Occupations Bureau misled the House with her previous statement on March 24th? Is that what he's saying?
That's what they know. They know. Edmonton Gold Bar.
Mr. Speaker, the City of Edmonton's report on out-of-school care for special needs children verifies what we've known all along. The uncertainty over access is a major concern for parents, Mr. Speaker. My questions are to the Minister of Family and Social Services. There are 4 straightforward, simple-to-implement recommendations, Mr. Minister. Will the Minister state what his position is regarding these recommendations in the report?
Mr. Speaker, the member for Edmonton Gold Bar knows full well that we are going through a very comprehensive review of our handicapped children's services in this province, and once we've completed that process, I'll be happy to respond to the question that the member has raised.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, Mr. Speaker. Then following right along, will the Minister immediately send this report from the city to that review committee on handicapped children so that they can take it into consideration if he's not going to respond?
Here.
Mr. Speaker, I'd be happy to share that information with the review committee if they don't already have it.
That's right.
Wainwright.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Agriculture. The economic health of the grain producers in Canada is largely dependent on the reduction of agriculture subsidies in other parts of the world, mainly the U.S. and Europe. Producers have been looking forward to a GATT settlement that indicates a reduction for a number of years now. After your meeting yesterday with the federal and provincial ministers, has there been any new development regarding the Canada's position with GATT?
Mr. Speaker, we did discuss GATT yesterday, and we're brought up to date on the latest negotiations that are going on at the federal level. I think it would be fair to say there is some degree of optimism that there will be a political breakthrough before the G7 meeting in early July. We, I suppose, can only hope that that breakthrough will occur, and we can get on to the fine details and the drafting of an agreement so that it does benefit our grain producers and anyone else in the export sector in the longer term.
Thank you. Has the startup date for, as of January 1993 for the Dunkel proposal, has that been delayed?
I think it would be fair to say that with the slippage that has occurred, even if there is a political breakthrough between now and July, the chances of getting that through the Congress prior to sometime in '93 would be virtually impossible. That's through the U.S. Congress. So I would expect that even if we get the breakthrough, that the date that the agreement would kick in will have to slip somewhat from January the 1st, 1993.
Edmonton Jasper Place, followed by West Yellowhead.
Mr. Speaker, in January of 1991, the former MLA for Calgary-Buffalo began to circulate a petition demanding that the government release secret details of financial arrangements between the government and Canalta Golf Management. Unfortunately, the member is no longer with us, but the questions remain unanswered. Canalta now has moved to expand its golf course onto some sensitive wildlife habitat, which was set aside for wildlife under the 1977 policy, which raises a question of whether you can ever trust the government on an environmental matter. But I would like to ask, in view of the close connections between this company and the government, if the Minister of the Environment will commit to a full public disclosure of all relevant information dealing with the Canalta project prior to a full and fair public review of that project.
Very honourable member, we're into the problem of estimates for tonight in anticipation. That's my concern with that one. I'm sorry. Sorry. Thank you. West Yellowhead.
Speaker, constituents of mine west of the hamlet of Piers, Mr. Speaker, are furious with the Minister of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife for his willingness to sacrifice jobs in the community through what amounts to be a permanent closure of a sawmill in Piers. This despite the fact that the Minister has stated on a number of occasions in writing that there would be no sale of coniferous timber quota in the Piers area unless manufactured jobs were maintained within the 35 kilometers of Piers. I'd like to ask the Minister of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife how he's justifying doing a last-minute flip-flop and removing the condition of a timber quota which required manufacturing jobs to stay in the town of Piers.
Well, Mr. Speaker, first of all, the Operation A&V logging at Piers has been in receivership since 1991. The receiver has been searching for someone to take over that operation without a great deal of success to this point. And there's a condition on that quota that says the wood must be processed within 35 kilometers of the community of Piers. And that was put in there to protect local jobs at that time. Now, I agreed to the removal of that condition, Mr. Speaker, and I agreed to it after I received assurances from the local community that the people were strongly supportive of that. I must say that there was a public meeting held by the receiver, and there's been a number of petitions, and in fact, in some cases, people signed petitions, petition both ways, trying to be on both sides of the fence on the issue. But, Mr. Speaker, I did that because I believe that fairness demands that we modify the condition and the process be open to anyone and that treats everyone fairly.
Mr. Speaker, I can assure you I'm not on both sides of the fence. The fact remains, Mr. Speaker, that at the time the timber quota was first tendered back in February, there was only one company, A1 Shakes and Shingles, that was prepared to agree to the condition requiring manufacturing jobs to be maintained in the Piers area. On that basis, it seems to me that the bid was won fair and square. I'd like to ask the Minister, given that the timber quota is being retendered on May the 7th, and given that it is important that all companies wanting to bid meet the same terms and conditions, will the Minister ensure that any successful bidder keeps manufacturing jobs in the Piers area and not remove Special Condition 12? Yes or no?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I have my deputy has sent a letter in effect removing the condition, and that position will stay. Along with that was the direction to the receiver, who makes the decision on who's selected. It's not the government that makes the decision, but on the assignment of the quota, that the job component at Piers will be receive very strong consideration. But as I said, Mr. Speaker, there's a public meeting that was held in the area, and the people in the area strongly support the removal of the condition and open to fairness, recognizing that we want to maintain jobs in Piers as well.
Calgary Northwest.
Mr. Speaker, my question is also to the Minister of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife. Mr. Speaker, during the recent supplementary auction for unused and returned hunting tags, most of the hunters were supposed to and did follow the rules and went to their local offices. However, one hunter, enterprising outfitter, went directly to the head office and purchased all of the tags in person and usurped the line. My question to the Minister is, what is being done, first of all, to compensate the hunters who didn't have a chance to buy the tags, and what's being done to prevent this unworkable practice from happening again?
Well, first of all, Mr. Speaker, we designed
Did a half price sale.
we designed a process of allocation in this case that was strongly supported by the Professional Outfitters Association. But I have to say, in this case, my department made a mistake, and there was an error made. And a registered letter was sent out to all of the outfitters and guides in Alberta saying that they, if they wanted to acquire any of the turn-back permits that there was, then it would be on a first-come, first-served basis, but only at the district offices. None would be done at the head office. In fact, I guess you could call him enterprising. I think he knew the rules. But anyway, he came into Edmonton and went to the head office and acquired them, and that was wrong. It was a mistake made. There was one outfitter that did that. It disadvantaged one outfitter in Alberta. Only one outfitter was disadvantaged by that happening. And what I've done now is work closely with the Professional Outfitters Association to reach a satisfactory way of resolving the issue, and I think I'm nearly to that point now.
That's good to hear the issues being resolved, but government policies still seem to be creating some difficulty for Alberta in the international scene. We now have a reputation in Denmark as the place to avoid for hunters. So my question to the Minister with respect to outfitting policies is, when will these policies with respect to tenure and with respect to hunting tags be corrected, and hopefully then also correct our negative reputation we're building up internationally?
Mr. Speaker, the negative reputation is to some degree been caused by one other gentleman that caused the problem, and I think we pretty well, in working with the professional outfitters, have resolved that issue. But basically the tenure is a decision's been made and announced, and I would refer the honourable members to the April 30th Hansard, of which I outlined very clearly what the new policy is.
Edmonton Meadowlark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the proposed Little Bow Highwood River diversion project raises serious questions about the health of the Highwood River. My question is to the Minister of the Environment. With the cost of the project at about $27 million, and with escalating costs always a possibility, what evidence has the Minister got that the project is cost beneficial?
Well, quite simply, the project is designed to replace a structure that has been in place since 1922. And the principle is quite simple. We need to widen that structure to capture the spring flush, Mr. Speaker, and...
Thank you. Take your place, Honourable Minister. I'm sorry. The House has indeed corrected me in the correct fashion. It's a question of the environment. Your estimates are up tonight. Bingo. Thank you. We go on now to Grand Prairie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Northern Alberta Development Council receives many briefs on the course of a year and from people throughout Northern Alberta where they express concerns about local development issues. Such has been the case over the past 20 years. Off and on, we receive briefs from people in the Fort Chipewyan area concerned about infrastructure and road construction. These have been passed on to the Minister of Transportation and Utilities, and I'd like to have an update on the activity in the infrastructure of roads in recent years.
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member from Grand Prairie is right in the sense that over the last, I would even go so far as to be over 21 years, because it was before my time, and that's in relation to the
construction of an all-weather road to Fort Chip. And obviously there's two things in there one has to keep in mind. It's the oldest community in Alberta without access. There is presently in place an all-weather road, a winter road that's operated in the wintertime, and what we have done is, with the cooperation of the Northern Development Branch and the Department of Transportation and Utilities, done a study that will update the FENCO report of 1986, I believe it is. And what I did on the 30th, I stand to be corrected, it was the 27th of April, was I journeyed to Fort Chipewyan to release that report to the residents of that area for them to review it, and with it, the three alternatives, and to get back to me.
Mr. Speaker, would the minister have any indication of the dollars involved and the time frame on when we can see results?
Yes, based on the study, there was the east route, the central route, and the west route, and it ranged anywhere from $52 million to $266 million. And I was asked that question in Fort Chip as to when the road might be built. And I said, well, first of all, the process is underway. We're going to deal with it from the standpoint of you, the people of Fort Chip, checking the area for which is the best of the three routes. Recognizing also, and I must make this point, Mr. Speaker, that the westerly route, which goes through the majority of the Wood Buffalo National Park and across the Delta, if that's the one that they choose, it may be a long while before we get that resolved, because there's a number of things there that must be taken care of to ensure that the environmental aspects of that are protected. I also mentioned that with the dollars the way they are in our budgets right now, it may be a 10 to 15-year project whenever we start it.
Honourable members, there have been a lot of notes up here today. Has the chair missed that there are other people to be introduced at all? No, thank you. All right, point of order, Edmonton Meadowlark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise on a point of order under Beauchesne, Section 410, subsection 14. I appreciate your concern with anticipation and, of course, the concern of government members with the rule of anticipation, but I read Section 410, subsection 14, which reads, questions should not anticipate an order of the day, although this does not apply to the budget process. And it's on that basis that I would argue that the questions that I asked today and the questions that my colleague from Edmonton Jasper Place asked today, in fact, are in order, and we should have been permitted to continue with those questions. And I would certainly appreciate the opportunity to do that now, if that is your ruling.
Edmonton Jasper Place.
To remark on this, it's always been my understanding the rule of anticipation was intended that there would not take place in the question period something that would take place in a substantive debate. And I can see that that rule makes some sense if there's a particular issue that's set forward. Budget estimates are in a category where potentially anything that the minister has administrative responsibility for may come up. So the area that then becomes subject to anticipation becomes extremely broad, which takes away, I think, from the purpose of question period, which is that matters that have some urgency to be dealt with in that forum where an answer is sought and perhaps even accountability might be sought. So casting the rule of anticipation so broadly as to cover a departmental spending estimates, I think, is too broad a net. And reflecting on the particular citation that the member from Meadowlark has brought forward, I think there is some indication there that the budget matters are intended to be handled somewhat differently in parliamentary procedure.
Additional Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I believe it's been the long-standing practice that that we would look to the general rule provided in Beauchesne and 40912 on anticipation, debate being scheduled for the day, and the question should be reserved for that time.
Thank you, honourable members. Indeed, the chair has ruled before on this matter in the previous 5 years, and the point of order is not duly, it's listened to. I understand the frustration, but the practice of the House has been indeed the question period on the one day of the year. that the estimates occur, that questions in question period are not in order to that department. We also went through this last week when, again, the chair missed the fact that there were a couple of questions on agriculture, the day of the agricultural estimates, and then we got that straightened away. The long-standing practice of the House does indeed conform to 409 of Beauchesne, subsection 12, and will continue. Orders of the day.
Written questions.
Deputy Government House Leader.